We're recording, and you're listening to Revolution Rampage or watching it on YouTube with us here today. We have very special guests with us. We have Abby Labar, in-house host for the Carolina Hurricanes and current anchor on Fox Sports Carolinas. So we're going to have a nice, fun chat with her today in this very special episode of Revolution Rampage. Hi, Abby. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. We're all excited that hockey is happening, and we're officially in the first round of the playoffs. So lots to be excited about, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we heard a lot of things. I mean, we had our worries going into that playing round, the qualifying round as they're calling it, and I think the Canes showed up big time. And how is it to be part of that broadcasting crew and work with guys like Shane Willis, Trip Tracy, and Mike Mastelko?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. To be honest, and I feel like Canes fans will hate me for saying this, but I did not expect a sweep. And I'm always confident in our Canes, right? Like, just because, we've struggled against the Rangers in the past, and everything's so different now. And that exhibition game was okay, but you were trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, right, with shaking off the rust. So for them to come out and play the way that they did was awesome to see, and it gives me all the confidence in the world as we head into Boston, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But just that experience of working with Mike, Trip, and Shane is awesome. I mean, it was weird, obviously, having to broadcast the game from PNC Arena for a number of reasons. A, we're obviously watching the game like everyone else is on a screen. And then B, it's just like we're in an empty arena, like an empty PNC Arena, and we're getting fired up about Canes hockey. And that was so tough to do without having fans in the building. And we made the most of it, though, right? Like, it was, we made the most of it. So, what was really funny was Mike and Trip were up in the broadcast booth, up where press row is, and then Shane and I were on the concourse. And we could hear Mike and Trip echoing across the arena as they're calling the game. And me and Shane are trying to yell back at them, yeah, let's go. And I don't think they could hear us though. So me and Shane sound like idiots down on the concourse trying to yell back through the arena as we can hear them, yelling when it goes to commercial break and stuff like that. But it was a really unique experience. Everyone was excited for the challenge. I think at the end of the day, having hockey back was obviously, the silver lining of all of it, right? We're getting people excited about hockey being back. We're excited hockey's back, and we're going to take it as we can get it at this point, And so, Mike and Trip are great. Obviously, Trip and I actually have a really great relationship after I filled in for Mike. I really, kind of leaned on him a lot during that time, and Shane the same way. He's not the guy that is very public on social media and stuff, but as if I text him or call him or need anything, he's always quick to respond, and he's the best. He's so naturally good at what he does, and being able to lean on him from an analytical perspective is great. And that's also the unique part about sitting there watching the game with him. Versus when I was filling in for Mike, we would go our separate ways as the game action would begin, right? I would go down to the rink side and do the interviews and stuff. Well, now I'm sitting beside Shane the entire time. So I'm asking him all sorts of questions, hey, because I'm still, I'm always a student of the game, right? You continue to learn hockey. There's so many moving parts to it, and it's such a beautiful sport. And so to have a guy that played for the team and was in that locker room and just can see all the ins and outs of the game, and being able to sit there and ask him questions and we can talk through it together is a cool experience in itself. So very different, but I am so thankful for the opportunity to be in the position that I'm in. And Canes hockey is doing great right now. So hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah. That's got to be weird, sitting in the empty arena.
So weird.
But I'm sure Shane makes up for it.
I know, Abby. I know the feeling. I used to work in operations in the building, and I was there when absolutely nobody was. It felt weird.
It echoes more than you like. I mean, I guess a big building you expect it to echo, but like I don't know. I guess I've never been in there when it echoes like that. It's really bizarre.
Yeah, we've had Shane on the pod before, and we know how fun he is.
He's great.
From his initial corn dog incidents at the fair to all
the
his
bench warmers.
shenanigans. Yeah, the bench warmers, all
Yeah.
his on ice and off ice shenanigans. He's a lot of fun to have around, and I'm you two together make a very dynamic duo, and we're proud of you for being able to step in the role so well.
Thank you. He's such an easy guy to trust, and I don't feel stupid asking him the dumb questions, right? Like I know he knows it's coming, and we've built a really great relationship, and so it makes it so much easier to work with him.
Yeah, we talked about it when he was on our show that for me anyway, I was very intimidated to talk to him at first. I don't know if it's just the way he carries himself or the way he looks at you, but it's just like, I feel like I'm about this big when I was getting ready to talk to you. But once you do talk to him, it's like, why did I even feel that?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the way he carries himself for sure. Like if you didn't really know him or like really, like you said, like just kind of seeing him from the outside looking in, I think I was a little more comfortable with him too, because I would work with him a little bit, as the in-game host when we would do youth hockey stuff. And so I would go into his office, and knowing that he's a coach too, you have to think he's a little personable, right? Like he's with all this stuff that he does for first goal and everything. So, but yeah, no, I totally get that feeling.
Because that's when I really started interacting with him when my daughter was in first goal. So, but I was still just intimidated to talk to him, but not anymore. Now I'm just like, hey, Shane, how you doing?
Right? Yeah.
You just like kidding.
Right. He's gonna be like, oh God, it's that girl again.
No, Shane's a very easy person to work with, but that's not the only thing that's contributed to your success. You're an easy person to work with, and from everything we've heard, and
I would hope so.
Right?
I mean, you're putting up with our craziness, so we got that going.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah. So tell us about how you kind of moved into the roles that you've moved into.
Yeah, so I went to NC State and I studied communication media. I always knew, go back, right? I always knew that I wanted to be a sports reporter and sports broadcasting before I even started college. And so as soon as I started in college, I quickly realized that it's a very competitive industry and networking is the utmost important part of it. And so I started right away at NC State, just trying to get involved in anything and everything I could do. And as I started to get my first, mentors in the business, they were like, don't be afraid to, like, don't say no to things. Like, even if you don't think it's going to benefit you, like, say yes to it, because it'll somehow circle back to benefiting you later, right? And when you think like sports reporter, like, oh, well, if you're not on camera, then like, what else is going to benefit you? Like, no, editing, production, working with the SIDs, which was a huge, like, that helps me realize the other side of it right now as I am a reporter. And you guys know, like, having to go through SIDs and PR guys and all the work that they do to give us the media notes and the information that they like we rely on for these broadcasts is huge. And so, interning on that side allowed me to be a better communicator on this side of things now. And so I did a lot of everything while I was at NC State. And to be completely honest, the only time I didn't have a lot of friends that really went to Canes games. The team wasn't as popular as it was and wasn't doing as well, as they have been recently. And so as a student, I was so focused on NC State athletics. And then, I kind of dipped my toes in the rest of college sports because, we're in Tobacco Road. And so I did an internship my senior year of college with a news station with Spectrum News. And that's where I started kind of following the Canes a little bit. So I had, I knew, and I think around that time, that's when Tom Dundon was coming in. So I was pretty familiar with the ownership change, kind of the trends and topics with the team. But I didn't really know hockey. Actually, I didn't know hockey at all, to be honest. Like I never really followed it. I was born and raised in Charlotte. And I maybe went to 1 or 2 Checkers games, but I didn't grow up with it. And so when I graduated and I saw, I was still trying to explore opportunities and figure out how to continue to grow in this industry, I started looking at teams specifically because I had a little bit of some in-game hosting background from some stuff that I did in college. And I realized that a lot of really great reporters started as in-game hosts. And so I started kind of researching, okay, what does an in-game host do? At a professional level, like, you can get involved digitally. And anyway, so I started applying for a lot of in-game hosting jobs everywhere. I went to a Boston Celtics audition. I had one with the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, I was willing to go wherever. And crazy enough, the job posting for the Canes came like, a few months after I graduated. And I was like, this is right in my backyard. Like, why would I, this would be cool. But I was nervous because I didn't know hockey. And so I applied. They called me in for the audition, and it was, Mike Foreman had just, I think, been hired for the position there. So he was one of the guys interviewing me. I did like an audition in an empty arena. Talk about empty arenas. It was just me in an empty arena, and I was auditioning. I was like trying to get the crowd fired up, and there was no crowd. I'm like, all right, guys, it's time for t-shirts. And it's like just like Mike Foreman and Chris Greenley, right?
Yeah.
And so I was transparent with them about, hey, I'm familiar with the topics and trends of the team, but all I've been doing the last 4 years is NC State, college basketball, and college football. I was like, but I would love to learn the sport of hockey. Take a chance on me, and I'll learn, and I will grow with you guys. And they did. And since then I have, I obviously went from just being promotions my first year, like t-shirt tosses and games, to then growing into getting my own show in game, which was great experience. And all that was just from me going to them and pestering them like, hey, I want to do more. I want to do more. Look, I've taught myself this all summer. Like, I understand the game now. Like, here's, I understand the league. And so just from me doing that and being eager to take on more opportunity, I've been so thankful for the organization, taking that chance on me and allowing me to grow with them. And they've been so supportive with that. And so obviously I started to make connections with the Fox Sports Carolinas crew, and Mike became a great mentor for me, and I got to know Trip, and obviously working with Shane and the producers with Fox Sports Carolinas, they gave me some tips and pointers on things that I needed to work on while I was an in-game host, and here's how you can get into TV. And crazy enough, obviously the situation happened with Mike, which was scary. And, I'm so thankful that obviously, like, that was probably one of the toughest things that I had ever gone through, right? Because, and I've talked to Mike about this a lot, like, you work so hard, right, to get to a certain point, and then, in your career, and then you get it at the expense of potentially somebody's life. Like, that phone call from Mike Sunheim that day when I found out Mike was in the hospital was, hey, like, Mike is in the hospital. We don't know if he's going to be okay, but the show must go on, and we need you to step into his role. And like, that was, how do you process that, right?
Right.
Somebody who is trying to make those next steps, but like, Mike's a mentor for me. We didn't know if he was going to be okay. And then, obviously he was fine. And we knew that. And luckily we knew that before I went to my first broadcast. And after that, he was so supportive of like, you need to take this opportunity and run with it, because, I'm going to be supportive of you. Like, don't say that you're filling my shoes. Like, this is your role for the next, couple weeks or so, and I will be back. And, and that's the great news of it all. And so that opportunity was obviously a great opportunity for me to then, showcase those skills on that platform. And then fast forward to now, here we go again, everyone's moving back up the totem pole, right? And so it's kind of crazy how everything worked out, but I am surrounded by so many supportive people within this organization that have helped me grow, and they trust me, and they're just so supportive. And I, couldn't think of a better way to have just kickstarted my career other than being here in Raleigh with the Hurricanes. So that's kind of, I know it's like a lot, but it's just crazy how everything comes full circle, right?
We kind of went full spectrum with your entire work history, except for one.
Okay, what am I missing?
Didn't you do an internship with the Coastal Plains League?
I did.
I'm calling you out on that one because I work for the Salamanders, so I'm calling you on that one.
If we sat here and went through all the internships that we would be here for like 3 hours. Like I said, I was not saying no to anything. I'm like, give it to, like, you know, I did so many different things, and so cool. Coastal Plain League was a great experience. That was fun because I did a lot of baseball in college. I actually thought that baseball would be the sport that I was going to be working in when I graduated, just because I had done a lot of it with NC State baseball, Coastal Plain League. I did the Kannapolis. Do you guys know the Kannapolis Intimidators? I don't even think they're the Kannapolis Intimidators anymore.
No, they're the Cannonballers because of
yeah,
because of copyright issues with Dale's name.
Yeah. That was my first in-game hosting experience, which was minor league baseball. Man, that's an exciting times there. That is a journey for sure. So, but yeah.
Tell me about the audition. How nerve-wracking is that? What do they usually want from you?
Yeah, so I've done actually quite a few auditions. And they've all been different. You would think, even though they're all in-game hosting auditions, they were all different. So the one in Boston I did was a closed audition. So like they had invited me, but there was like 20 other people they invited to do it as well. And so we actually spent the entire day in TD Garden, and we all auditioned in front of each other. And so we did like group auditions, and they paired us up, and we did like a lot of things, but there was, the rest of the people auditioning with you sat there and watched you, which was it kind of comforted you a little bit, versus like with the Canes, it was me in an empty arena. So yeah, essentially I literally just went in there and I did exactly, they gave me a script like the night before. And they said, hey, here's the promotions you need to know. And then here are a couple things that we'll want you to ad lib and like think on the spot with. So like be prepared for the curveballs that they throw at you. And so I literally went in the arena, and I was standing down in 130 on the little platform where I always have done my stuff. And it was the camera and me. And then it was like Mike Foreman, Chris Greenlee, and oh my gosh, I can't even remember who the two other people were. Oh, John Chase was one. And then there was one other person, I think, just like sitting like by themselves in the stands, like just staring at me. Like,
I was going to ask you, were they behind you or in front of you? Just peeing?
They were out of sight. They were beside me. So they were like up in 129. So like 130. So they were like diagonal behind me. But they would talk to me. So I would like do it, and then they would like talk to me, and then I would like do the next promo, and then they would like talk to me. And it's auditions are, I don't think we've talked about this before with like other like women in the industry and personalities in the industry. You even have to do auditions for TV, like broadcast, like NHL Network makes you do a audition. And so I know that my days with auditioning, I'm sure, are not done. And I don't think, I've heard it never gets easier because you can't ever prepare for them, right? Like you just have to be yourself, and that's the best you can do, because at the end of the day, and I can't remember who I was doing my podcast with that said this, but it was Lauren Gardner. Love her. She said, if you're somebody that you're not, and they hire that person, that means you're going to be pretending to be somebody you're not the entire time you're in this role. Why would you not be the best version of yourself and be yourself? And if they don't like you for that, then there's no point in, being a part of that organization. Anyway, so that I thought was really powerful from her. And so that's the mindset that I've always kept just in my everyday job, right? Like just be the best version of yourself, and people are going to love you and people are going to hate you. And, that's the industry. So yeah.
Good. I mean, you're doing an amazing job. You really are.
Thank you.
Just imagine Kevin Weeks and Abby Labar on NHL Network.
Oh, that was
God. Weeksy, man. He did you see the Rod Brennamore birthday video?
Yeah.
He did like a little shout out from the NHL studio. I've never met him before. I don't know if you guys have, but
I've met Kevin Weeks at the All-Star game in Tampa 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful person to talk to. He's very what's the word I'm looking for? not thorough, but he cares about the person. He makes you feel like he cares about the conversation.
Yeah.
And he treats everyone he talks to with respect. And I've never seen him talk down to a fan who's talking to him. Surprisingly, another person that we met there, PK Subban, he's kind of the same way.
Which I think I've said this so many times recently, and I guess because we've all been bored and like on social media, I'm obsessed with PK and Lindsey Vonn. I religiously follow both of their Instagram accounts, and I'm like, what are they up to today? They should have
they have personality.
But like the NHL needs that, right? Like those, like PK gets so much hate, and it's just like, it's because he has a personality. Like that's what the NHL needs.
He doesn't fit into the Don Cherry mold of hockey.
He should
players.
be a hurricane.
There's a reason Don Cherry's out.
Yes.
Hey, but at least Amanda, she had a pretty cool experience with PK.
I've met him twice. Well, first time I met his dad, actually. I was up at the concessions and he was in front of me, and I followed him on PK on Instagram. So I'm pulling up my Instagram going, is that his dad? So he turns around and I was like, excuse me, are you Mr. Subban? And he's like, yeah. I mean, all hurricane stuff.
I love
and he's
it.
like, oh, right. He's like, yeah, who is this crazy chick? And I was like, oh, I'm a big fan of your son. And he's like, that's so great. And he took pictures with me and my kids, and he talks about my kids being in hockey and stuff. And
that's awesome.
And then I just happened to get in the loading docks when they were all leaving. So PK and his dad were coming out, and his dad was like, hey, that's your fan over there. You should go talk to him. So he came over and he took pictures with me and my kids. So it was that was
so
really
cool.
But then I took my girls to the NWHL All-Star Weekend in Nashville, and they did a meet and greet with him. So that was pretty cool.
So
He
cool.
remembered us. At least he said he did. But
that's awesome. I love that.
He's always been very nice. I was really into him at first, but he kind of got on my nerves with Lindsey Vonn.
Yeah,
I was just,
right? Yeah. People get so annoyed.
Right. Can you have a conversation without mentioning Lindsey just for like 5 minutes?
I mean, I don't think I could if I were him, but that's neither here nor there.
He's so awesome.
That's impossible. How could you?
Oh God.
Oh, okay, so let's transition back.
Move it that way.
Right. Bring it back. You were talking about, speaking with other women in the industry and stuff. What kind of challenges have you faced, or do you think women face, and what do you think we could do to improve those things?
I think the biggest challenge is being put into probably like this narrow, like, here's what women's role should be, and that's how it should be, right? Like, whether it's a sideline reporter or a host for a show, it's hard because, women obviously have, obviously are emotional. They have those emotional connections with, people, like, no offense to men, but like women are just, they have that, obviously, like, they bring something different to a broadcast because they are women. And so I think a lot of times you run into this, like, I'm trying to think of like the right word, but this, oh my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. No, oh my God, I can't think of it.
Welcome to Revolution Rampage. Words are hard.
Oh my God.
Stigma. They run into having to have some sort of the stigma of, this is a woman, she just needs to, do her job, like stay in your lane type of thing as a woman. And I think that's the toughest thing, because like, we want to have a voice and we want to add value to a broadcast. not just because we are a woman on the broadcast, right? Like, we are intelligent, we have our own, you know, personalities, like we bring value to the broadcast in all these unique ways. And so you shouldn't just, you know, have to stay in a certain like lane or be in a certain, like, be in this like certain stigma of like what women should be in this business. And so I think that's probably the toughest thing. And the thing that I've learned as I've talked to some of these other women about like being unapologetically yourself and being confident and comfortable in that. And I think that's some of the best women we see as reporters and hosts that are able to do that on, not just on broadcast, right? So like on social media as well, like just voicing their opinions and being confident about that and adding value to the industry. And so I think that's like the biggest challenge. And the biggest challenge too, just for like understanding that it's okay to be that way, right? Like as women and as we grow, like being confident in our own selves, that we are adding value, that we are gonna bring, you know, something different, and that we do have that knowledge. Because like I said, I struggle and I question a lot, like my intelligence when it comes to the game of hockey, because I'm still new to the sport, but I'm open about that and I'm vulnerable with it. Like I'm learning and I'm growing, and bear with me guys, because like I know my stuff when I, you know, because I've done my research, right? And if I mess up, then it's fine. Like I'm only human. We're all only human. And so
Right.
I think that's the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and that's good advice for women in general, because as women, we question ourselves more and we doubt ourselves more. We feel like we have to live up to a certain standard or look a certain way, or, you know, do things a certain way because we're women and we're being judged. But really, we're judging ourselves. And it's almost like women have to compete with each other. At least they feel that way, when really they should just be boosting each other up and be like, yes, you got it, you're doing great.
And all that goes away when you are confident and comfortable in yourself and in your intelligence and what you provide. Because that's what I've learned as I've built these relationships with these other women. The women that I have the closest, strongest relationships with are so confident in themselves and like would never ever, and they are so supportive, because in an industry like this, it is tough, right? Like everyone's competing, even with men and women too. Like everyone's all competing for the same jobs, right? But we're also like in a family, tight-knit community industry where we have to be able to, you know, support one another as well. And so there's that balance, right? And so the best reporters and hosts understand that, you know, your mentor or the person you're mentoring could take your job one day, and that's fine. You know, that's how it works. It's a small industry. And if you are still supportive of that person and, you know, you continue to boost them up, and then, you know, obviously understand that, okay, they took your job, but you're just going to get another one, right? Like just continue to support each other through all of that. And so that's the best women in this industry are just so confident and comfortable in themselves and so unapologetically themselves. And I love that so much. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, as a fellow broadcaster, especially at my alma mater, Westminster College Broadcasting, gotta give them a shout out. I had so many female coworkers that were producers, that were my color commentators, when I was their color commentator, when they were reporters out in the field. At my college especially, they were given that chance to show it, and they moved on to big careers in Pittsburgh. One ended up with the National Arena League. They had that chance to move on, and I feel like that's especially more prominent now, because you see more increasing numbers of women, not only in hockey, but in sports in general. And especially with the Canes, their number of female employees have consistently increased over the last couple of years.
Yeah, for sure, which is awesome to see, right? And I think it just continues to prove that there's so much more that women, you know, bring to the table from that, you know, how much we're valued. And so I think that it's really cool to see that everywhere, you know, across all sports. The NHL especially, it's great to see, because it's not just the Canes too. We've seen some awesome hires, like Seattle, you know, hired a woman and big role there, and it's great to see that. And
in the
so
analytics
inspiring.
department.
Yes, that's what it is. And I can't forget her name, but I remember that was big news for several, like all of us women were super excited to see that. So
yeah, and Blake Bolden got hired with the Kings as a scout and have a female scout. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have some bad news.
What?
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Who got it?
The first overall draft pick of the 2020.
Oh no, I forgot that was on.
Who is it? No, Abby. Wait, who is it? Who is it, Omar?
It's the Alexis Lafreniere will be going to New York City and the New York Rangers.
Oh no!
Are you kidding me?
Why does the Metro keep getting harder?
Oh.
Because every championship has to come through this division.
All right.
Why?
Oh,
Just
my God.
why?
That's so funny.
Right when you think the Rangers will get knocked down a peg, that happens.
Seriously.
Now they've ruined everyone's mood.
Of course, the New Yorker would do this.
Hey.
Why did I think it wasn't on until like 8:00 tonight? I feel like
because that's what it should have been on, but they decided to like
so
ramp it up to
early.
6. Batman's got his beauty sleep. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Because they wouldn't.
You know, Panarin is dancing right now.
You think you think Hank now thinks he's finally gonna get a shot at a cup?
I think Hank's done in New York.
Poor guy. I
feel so bad for him.
I do.
I honestly think he's getting bought out. Like, I don't think he's even gonna get traded. I think he's getting bought out and he'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Get the Patrick Marleau treatment.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
All hail
That
King
poor
Marleau, legend of the
Poor
Hurricanes.
guy.
He gets traded to Philadelphia and then sinks their team as well. Anyways.
Jeez.
Again, bringing it back. This is my job on the podcast. I teach the guys. I'm like, okay, guys, come on.
Yeah,
I'm like,
women adding value. We know how to organize people.
Amanda just puts up with the craziness of me and Omar, and she balances it out.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have that balance. You got to have the pod in check. But, speaking of that, what advice would you give young ladies who are trying to get into this industry, or older ladies that are trying to get into this industry?
or just anyone on this pod that all want to work on hockey?
I think just don't give up on yourself. And I think that's the thing that I have learned as I've, built friendships in this industry is there's, I've met people that they're just like, it's not for me. I'm not getting to where I want to be. And not that they give up on themselves, they're okay with it, like stepping away from the industry. But I think that people that are successful understand like the grit and grind of it, and they know they're okay with the failures and the no's. And I think that's tough, going back to women and just our emotions and trying to be confident and comfortable in our own skin. Like, people are going to tell you they don't like you. People are going to tell you that you're doing something wrong. You are going to mess up. And if you give up on yourself in those moments, or it's like the goaltender mindset, right? Like, don't dwell on the past, just continue to move forward. I think that, that's the biggest thing, because this industry is mentally exhausting. It's physically and mentally exhausting for so many reasons, but the rewards are so great. And, if you just continue to plug along and, you do it until like you're literally you've exhausted all your options, which I don't even think is possible, to be honest, because if you're that passionate and motivated, like, you're gonna continue to create opportunities for yourself when the opportunities aren't coming per se. So that's the best piece of advice I would give.
Or you end up like Bob McKenzie, working 40 years and retiring. Congrats.
Oh my gosh, right? Wish we all had a career like that. Hopefully one day.
oh, we know you will.
Okay, hopefully, thanks. Hopefully one day.
It'll be you, Sarah, and Bridget just tearing it up, and we're all going to be happy.
We're we're gonna be on our walkers, like still plugging along, right?
Still roommates somehow.
Still, yeah, right. Still roommates in a nursing home.
They just got a mansion up in North Raleigh somewhere.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Fantastic.
So let's talk about the series here. Let's talk about Boston, Carolina again.
Right.
Fourth
What are
time.
the odds? What are the odds that it would have been Washington or Boston? Like that's just our luck, isn't it?
1 in 4. 1 in 4.
Boston,
Those were the odds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but still, like seriously.
Boston is now officially the team that we played the most in the playoffs.
No, the Devils are tied at 4. So we played the Devils and the Bruins 4 times.
Okay.
This is the 4th time. They're tied for the most series against the Carolina Hurricanes in the playoffs. So that's an interesting statistic. Drop that off next time. That's my gift to you.
But you saw some people were tweeting about like it was like Canes lost to Boston and then Canes won and then we lost last year. So like what's
the
gonna
cycle
happen
repeats.
this year, right?
The cycle repeats.
So,
You're right.
we'll
You're
see.
absolutely right. 09 and then
I can't remember the years.
2017.
yeah.
They're the
So-
numbers people.
Yeah.
We can't
Look,
handle
we all
words,
gotta
but math.
We got to remember,
know.
though. We got to remember this. In the first 3 round robin games, the perfect line that Boston has, 0 goals.
Right,
0.
So it's perfect line of Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Pasternak, which is still a dangerous line. They should, even though they've been held to no points, they shouldn't be underestimated. I'll still put Slavin, Hamilton, Batten out there up against them. I think those between them, maybe even Brady Shea. I mean, we've got some of the most elite defenders in the world. We got to play them well, and I think we'll be in good shape to
watch Shea go after Chara.
It's going to be hard. And look at the teams that did beat Boston. They did it with a goal or 2, not blowing them out of the water. So what is your prediction, Abby, for this 7-game series?
Canes in 5.
Canes in 5. You heard it here first. Revolution Epics had it here first.
But I will say, and I was actually talking about this with Sarah last night. Sarah and her boyfriend, we were discussing it. If the Canes are going to win this series, I think they have to do it in one of those like 4 or 5. Like if you start taking it farther, I think that's where it gets a little scary with, okay, Boston is such an elite team. If the Canes can get out to that start that they did with New York and ride on that for as much as they can, right? Like, and just kind of get win and get those early wins, I think that's how they're going to end up doing it. And that's just like that's like a super hot take, right? I think that line, like you talked about, like, yeah, they were held to what? So it was 0 points for all 3 games. I'm still like going through all my media notes before tomorrow.
I'm pretty sure it was 1
but I knew
point,
they
0
weren't
goals.
Yeah, I knew they weren't playing well. It was Patrice that had the like assist or something. It was like an assist or something.
And it was on a power play.
Yeah. So here's the difference, right? Like they didn't really have anything to play for. But if I'm Boston or any of these teams in the round robin games, wouldn't you think, and this is another like obviously like me just kind of guessing or from a fan reporter perspective, like wouldn't you think they would want to play their hardest? Because if those are the best teams in the conference, they're going to have to face them in, later on in the conference finals. So why would they be like not playing their best or like just shaking the rust off and treating these as exhibition preseason games? Like you would think they would want to play hard, because then what, they're going to just all of a sudden try to jump into the playoff, mindset for this first round. So I get that they didn't have much to play for, but I also don't understand why they weren't playing as hard as they should have or to their best too. So I know that's what kind of Bruce Cassidy was saying this morning, like it's going to be we're going to play at a higher level once this first round starts. Okay, fine, I get that. But like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll say that it could be a matter of consequences. If you think if you go on the ice and you're like, well, if I don't do my best today, I get to live another day. It's okay.
Yeah.
Versus,
it's not the go home, or it's not the do or die situation.
right? And they don't get that fight or flight reflex or in them. It's just mentally, yes, they say I'm gonna go out there and put 100%. They tell themselves that. They go out there and they make a mistake, but in the mentality in the head is not, oh crap, this could cost me the game or the season. The mentality is, it's okay. I can come back from this because we have that safety net. I don't know if that will cause them to play better or worse. See, like Bruce Cassidy's saying, oh, they'll come out and play better. But how do I know now that the Bruins team that's put under real pressure is going to actually play better than the Bruins team that was playing comfortably? That's a very good question. And as for going deep in the series, I have one thing, and I brought it up on the last episode when I said when the Canes play back-to-back, I don't know who wins the first game, but the Canes win the second game. And I said, hey, if the Hurricanes win game 2 against the Rangers might as well pack their bags next morning because they're going home that night.
He is right. We have people call Omar out on that, so he is right. You survived this time. You survived this time.
Games 5 and 6 are back-to-back. So the 19th and the 20th are back-to-back games. And I don't know who wins game 5, but if they need game 6, Carolina's winning game 6. And that might be all it takes.
Yeah.
Plus, wouldn't we get like home ice advantage after that, since we did beat the 4 team? So if we played anybody shorter than that, we get home ice technically.
Well, yeah. I mean, so right now we are the 5th seed, and so because they're reseeding every round. If we beat if we beat the Bruins, then we'll at least move into the 4th seed, and very possibly if 2 other play-in teams beat the round robin teams, yes, we would have home ice advantage in the second round. But it's not something that really matters outside of uniforms and last change. So
yeah,
and last change is brutal.
Abby, do you think Lightning Columbus round 2 is going to happen the same way?
I don't know. I think the Lightning are hung. I think and I think that gives us an advantage too, right? Like Rod said it today, when you play a team, and I think this will be similar to the Columbus Tampa series, when you have played a team that has no weaknesses. I loved this quote from him today. When you play a team that has no weaknesses, you have a better idea of how to beat them the next time around, right? And so like the Canes are coming into this knowing what happened last year, and they are ready for the revenge. And I think Tampa's the same way too, especially because Tampa was sitting on a higher pedestal than we were at the time. So, I mean, I think Columbus is a great team, but I think Tampa will take that series.
So
I just had a thought. Didn't Boston technically get the President's Trophy?
Yeah,
yes,
they did.
Still,
and they're saying that too. Yeah, they're saying that.
So what if we pulled off the sweep? Would it be as effective though?
It's the same thing Columbus did to Tampa last year. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying though. Like, would ours be more impactful than that one?
I think after this point, when everyone's played a couple of playoff games, technically, because even the round robin statistics count as playoff statistics, then we can discuss whether or not everyone had some momentum, got a good look at the other teams. I mean, right now, Money Puck, which I like their analytics, has Boston as the underdog, with Carolina with a 51.3% chance of winning that series, right? You look at other series around the league, Tampa has a 58.4% chance of beating Columbus. The Islanders are the underdogs against the Capitals, with Capitals having a 57.9% chance of beating the Islanders.
Battle of Barry Trotz.
Right, the Battle of Barry Trotz is going to go to Washington, according to Money Puck, with a 57.9%. So the Carolina Bruins matchup is very close. It's closer than anything. And, of course, the Flyers have a outstanding 60.8% chance of taking Montreal and sending them home with nothing in hand.
I cannot believe Montreal made it.
No.
Sometimes Carey Price has it, you know. You had to.
Oh, Abby,
They should just call them. They
idea.
should just call them the Carey Price Canadians at this point, because
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
But Abby, you have no idea how much stuff I've been slinging at Penguins fans. My college was about an hour above Pittsburgh when they won back-to-back cups, and I still wore my Canes stuff every time.
Love it.
4
Staying
years.
true.
The 4 years I was there, the Canes beat the Pens twice.
Oh man, you stayed true. That's the good part, though.
I stayed true. And now I'm
those
throwing
were
it back
the tough
at them.
times too, weren't they?
Yeah.
So one thing to take in mind, right? This would be the second year in a row where in the first round, the Carolina Hurricanes is facing a team that played in the Stanley Cup Finals the year before.
Okay, I like that.
So
our odds
It's
are
also
good.
it's
We're going
also
off of that.
the second time in Hurricanes history that we made back-to-back playoffs. It's only the second time in Hurricanes history.
Hurricanes / Whalers history too, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't count the WHL or WHA.
Yeah.
So NHL history.
Look, here's the deal, and this is why I love Rod so much, right? Everyone does. First of all, there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to win a cup or more, you know, with him. So here, you know, he's so great because the way he talks to us, like, you know, we always present these like numbers and fun facts, and we love that stuff, right? Like, we love to read those things because it helps us in our minds, like, oh, we have the better odds of winning because like this and this, and but he's always so straight to the point, and he's like, you know, those aren't the things we focus on. We focus on our game and, you know, our mindset. And we know that we can get beat by any team, but we can also beat any team. And so the mindset that he has, it bleeds into, you know, a lot of us. And it's just, that team is going to be so successful no matter who the opponent is, right? Like, if they go in and do all the right things under the leadership that they have, you know, we can win a cup this year. And that's like Rod's mindset too. And I think that's how it trickles down into the players being so young. You know, these young guys have so much confidence in themselves and their teammates because of the leadership they have in that room, and Rod and Justin and Jordan. And, you know, just the way Rod coaches is unlike anybody else. He's a player's coach. And so we can sit here all day and like look at these fun stats and, you know, whatever, but like I'm going to sit here and believe in like what Rod's going to do as a leader for this team. And in my mind, the Canes are going to win. Right. And that's how we should all act in this scenario, because he's just such a great leader. And there's so much talent on the team. I think Justin Williams said it too. Like, it's that will before skill as well. So it's not just that we have these talented guys, but we have these young kids who are so hungry to get better, and they are on the ice, like, outside of, you know, practice, and Andre's out there like practicing the lacrosse goal, and like those little things that allow these guys to take their skill set to the next level because they have the drive and the motivation to get better. So I think all that combined, you know, we absolutely can beat this Bruins team. And I think the confidence they have after last year is going to make it even better going in. And then obviously the like revenge side of it, right? Like, that's going to light a fire under them too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And then when we raise the cup, we will all get in our cars again and do another parade.
Yeah, right. Let's yeah, I know, seriously. I'm like, oh, I hope things are better by then, right?
Yeah, but both me and Amanda were there for the send-off, and
I heard it was awesome.
it was
like 1,000-something cars.
So cool.
1,000 cars. And I think if I see the players in the bus, like, filming, like, oh God.
They thought it was so cool. They did. You guys saw it. Like, they thought
Trip Tracy with the time lapse.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they thought it was the coolest thing ever. So,
well, we're only one of two teams that during my research that actually did it. It was us in Vegas.
I know. I'm surprised more people didn't, like. And I guess I get it. Like, maybe where some of the arenas are, like, we have a good setup, right, where you can get a bunch of cars in there. why our tailgating's the best.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it just wasn't feasible for some people, but that was really cool. And I love that. Go ahead, Zach.
The one good thing that we can bring over from college football.
Yeah, right?
I wish we had more chanting,
God.
but
I know. Hey, welcome to Raleigh, North Carolina. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, that was really cool. And I think it really, like, they truly value the community. And I think going back to Rod, like that trickles down from Rod. Like, just watching his video yesterday for his birthday, he said, like, you know, this is what it means to be a Carolina Hurricane. Like, this community is so special. And it's so funny to see all, like, the conversations on Twitter about, like, well, where would Rod go next? Or, like, what are the Hurricanes going to pay him? Like, Rod's not going anywhere. Like, he lives and breathes Carolina Hurricanes hockey. Like, I don't think he would coach. And I think he's even said that he wouldn't coach anywhere else, right? Like, and so to have a coach that values the community so much, and just that bleeds into the players. And so that send-off, you know, had to have been so powerful for them to see that. And they want to bring a cup back home. So really cool.
Abby, I think we've run so long here, and this is
Oh my God,
conversation
sorry.
is amazing.
Hey,
no,
I talk a lot.
no, that's your job.
When you're having fun, you're gonna
Yeah.
be going.
That is your job, so we're not gonna step on it. But I do have one last question.
Okay.
Unless anyone else has a question, this is gonna be the last question, and it's gonna be a tough question.
Oh God.
Oh no.
You ready for this?
I don't
All right.
know.
All right.
Know.
Who's your favorite player?
Oh my God.
Oh no.
I can't answer it.
Come on.
I am a unbiased reporter.
Could you give us the top 3?
Yeah, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be favorite player based on ice performance. It could be favorite player to talk to.
Well,
You can narrow it down however you want.
I've said this openly. Like, there's a lot of guys in that locker room that are great people, and obviously on the ice, great players. I love Andre because he is so, like, he's so talented on the ice, but his innocence is so pure. And to have a player that is that good and just be the nicest, most, like, the sweetest human being off the ice is so refreshing, especially in this league, right? Like, just knowing that he's going to continue to just get better on the ice. And we all hope that his personality continues to grow with that too. Like, you know, like, he's going to be one of the best, if not, you know, he could be the best player in this league in, you know, a few years. And a lot of times, you know, not to knock on any of these other amazing people, but we, you know, the NHL, people keep to themselves. And, like, Andre is just, like, as soon as you walk into the locker room, it's like, hi, everyone. Like, just wait. Like, he's just so sweet. And you just hope that he keeps that as he continues to get better. And so I love that about him. I mean, obviously, Sebastian Aho is an amazing player to watch. He's going to be great to continue to watch grow. And then, you know, Dougie Hamilton and Jordan Martinook are, like, the men of the people, you know, the fan favorites. And their personalities are you know, Jordan's his own person, but Dougie's always very nice in the locker room. Yeah, right? Like, yeah. So
Marty party. I mean, come on.
The team dynamic is so cool. Like, just, you have people from all different walks of life, and to see them mesh is, like, the coolest thing ever. It's awesome.
I'll tell you one thing about Andre, and one thing that does excite me is that he gets to be molded by Rod.
Yeah.
100% molded by Rod, and Rod, like, a lot of these other players have had other coaching to help them mold, like the star players. I'm talking about Tavo Tervine's been on a couple of teams. Sebastian Aho's seen previous coaching under Bill Peters, but Andre, he only knows Rod.
Absolutely.
And the 2 times I've met Andre, he's been adorable. He's like a puppy. I remember sitting next to him,
he really is.
night, and I'm like, here, have a sticker for the podcast. Enjoy
after the what, the 4 months that you were trying to get his signature on your jersey.
Yeah. And he goes and all he says is, "What is podcast?" I sat down and explained it to him.
He cares. He really does. And that's just so cool for a guy that gets so much like exposure and publicity. And sometimes you wonder, like, does this kid even realize how good he is? Like, seriously, the way he acts and carries himself, it's like, I don't think he understands like what he's gonna be one day. Like, and that's what I mean by innocent. Like, and it's so great to see that and want to be able to follow that. So I love that. And I think that's a great point about Rod, though. I don't think enough of us, think that way. At least I didn't really like. I think that's why we're seeing some great sparks from Marty Nachuk, right? Like, really, Marty's learning a lot from Rod. Granted, he was, with the Checkers for a little bit, but I think the longer he's been under Rod, the more we've kind of seen why he's going to be so good too. So it's going to be really cool to see how all these players develop under Rod Brind'Amour.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one of the things that I absolutely love about this team is all of the guys are genuine. They're, they don't have egos. If a player comes on that does have an ego, they don't last long.
For sure. Oh, exactly. And we've seen that. Yeah,
and we've seen they're all very kind. They'll stop and talk to you. They're very polite. They all have manners, and nobody has a big head. And that's one of the things that I love about it.
And you have to have that with Kane's hockey, right? Like, I love people always ask, like, what makes, like, why is Kane's marketing so good? Like, what makes them so popular? And it's like, because we don't take ourselves too seriously. Like, we really don't. And the players now that we've kind of gotten this really great group of players that are pretty much the same way. Like, they don't take themselves too seriously either. And so that's what, that's the personality and, how you have to carry yourself if you're going to be Carolina Hurricanes. So you're so right about that. And I love the personality. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Abby, it's been wonderful having you on. Thank you to everyone in the organization that's made this possible over at Fox Sports Carolina. We look forward to really watching you, Shane, Mike, Tripp, say hi to them for all of us. And, hey, I think the Hurricanes are going to take the Bruins in 5. And I agree with you. We're on the same wavelength here. Let's do this. Let's knock this out and move on to the second round. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. It was great.
Yeah, keep up the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much.